So today we want to actually talk about the founder's journey, like the ins and outs, what's been happening, the resilience. And I think there's this idea that everyone has about what it is to be a founder, and this founder that exited here. It's like very idealized versions of what it is to be a founder.
The great thing about getting on a call with a VC is no one is as honest with you as someone who's about to give you their money.
When you're talking about vocational training, it's about a $900 billion industry by 2029.
I'm not sure that's particularly excellent advice. The do what you love, follow your passion.
The honest truth about essentially running a startup.
I mean, the reality for me is that it's a lot harder than I thought it was, because the number of blows that I've received over the last years, you know what I mean? Honestly, if you don't have the strength to every time you get punched to get up, and it's like, okay, well, what's left?
I think feeling sorry for yourself is not an option at all. It's hard to be super fit. It's hard to be overweight. It's hard to be rich. It's hard to be poor. Everything is hard. I'm going to choose my hard. I accept.
Investors and fundraising, right? So
fun stuff.
Yeah, the fun stuff. Yeah.
Whoever we didn't lose in the previous question, we're definitely losing now.
It's not just the money, but also the value that investor can bring to your business.
So I would say that's the first bias I'd like to confront, which is that there aren't world-class unicorn VCs in the region, because I can attest to and testify that actually I'm backed by one.
Long story short, I found out that they're gonna retract the term sheet, and it was devastating.
Corporate partnerships can be the hill you die on as an early stage startup that we spend, because if it's a passion project, then you should be nowhere near VCs, nowhere near this game, because you will get into a washing machine that will grind the life out of you.
So we've started this podcast series called Hub71 Amplified. And we were thinking about what do we actually want to start talking about in a podcast. So Hub71 is known as Abu Dhabi's global tech ecosystem, the story we all know. But I think our bread and butter and what brings us together is our founders. And like the way we've built community here is incredible. So today we want to actually talk about the founder's journey, like the ins and outs, what's been happening, the resilience. And I think there's this idea that everyone has about what it is to be a founder, and this founder that exited here. It's like very idealized versions of what it is to be a founder. And we figured what better way to start this journey than with the two of you. So joining us today, we have two incredible founders. There's Sharaf Al-Mansouri, who is the co-founder and CEO of Dharma, which is a platform redefining travel by turning people's passions into an immersive experience. And Hani Abu Ghazaleh, who is the co-founder and CEO of Mental VR, a startup using virtual reality to make education and training more impactful. So Sharaf and Hani, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
It's always good to see you guys. It's really funny. I've known you guys for about 5 years now. So just about like 2019 and 2020 when we started at COVID here. So I'm actually really excited to do this podcast with the two of you, because I know a lot of stories about the two of you. So I'm going to fact check if it's not real.
Be nice, Divya.
All right, so let's get to it. I was saying there's this romanticized idea of what a founder should be, right? And this perfect journey. And people see these exited founders who've made like millions, the Silicon Valley vibe, and they think that's what it is to be a founder. So Sharaf, I'm going to start with you. Dharma is super passion-led, right? Where did this idea come from? Or essentially, at what point did you think, yes, this is about travel. I love yoga retreats. I love, Snoop Dogg. I'm going to hear more about it from you. But at what point did you say, this has to go from being a business, from a dream into a business?
Yeah, good question. I think for me, what brought us into the VC backed space is existential need as opposed to strategic approach, in the sense that before Dharma, the agency we had was Sunny Side Up, and Sunny Side Up was started as basically retreat planners for wellness leaders. I was based in London. I was working at Uber at the time, and I started Sunny Side Up with a simple opportunity in mind, which was, hey, there are these incredible yoga teachers, incredible wellness instructors in London. A lot of them are either doing the same retreat every year or not doing retreats at all, because the pain points of organizing a retreat are so high. And so the question was, do you think they'd be interested in actually outsourcing the whole travel management piece of retreats? And so with Nisma, my wife and co-founder, we actually just after class went to see our favorite yoga teacher in London. Her name is Mona Lisa Godfrey. She's absolutely incredible. And we're like, hey, Mona, would you like help growing your retreat business? And her answer was yes. And that's kind of what kickstarted us all the way to Dharma. We started working with Mona. We still work with Mona. This is 8 years later. And then kind of grew to work with more yoga teachers, more meditation instructors, eventually signed Third Space, which is a big fitness studio in London, and then Equinox out of New York. And so the thing kind of snowballed from, hey, our value prop is helping yoga teachers grow their retreat business, to helping yoga teachers and meditation instructors and fitness studios. And that's where we were kind of positioned in the wellness space. And the bigger idea to bring up the Snoop Dogs and the Bumbles and the and the Emily in Parises and the Netflix of this world that we've pitched and in some cases signed since then. Actually, as the business grew, we organized 4 retreats our first year, and 40 our second year. And we were on track to do 110, 115 our third year. And our third year was 2020. And like every single travel and hospitality startup or company or corporate in the world, March 2020 was kind of a mass extinction moment for a lot of the industry. And so as we were just about to kind of take off, the business basically went down to zero. And the decision that we had to make with Nisma was, hey, are we going to emerge out of COVID, or should we just, change industries, change careers and kind of build something else? That's when we fell into VC. And that's how we ended up in Abu Dhabi. And that's how we're at this podcast today is ultimately we got on calls with about 120 funds and investors and VCs. And the great thing about getting on a call with a VC is no one is as honest with you as someone who's about to give you their money. And so as we progressed with those calls, kind of the vision got sharper and also the scale play got sharper. And so for us, the scale play became, well, what if anybody could organize a trip for their following, not just yoga teachers and meditation instructors, but photographers and surfers. And, looking at it from the creator economy, 60 million creators in the world today, anybody with an organic network can organize the trip and monetize their audience via experiences. And that's the future we want to enable with Dharma. And that's VC scale. And so that's how we ended up on the VC side of this game. And how we ended up in Abu Dhabi is probably the only place in the world that was investing in travel in November 2020 was Abu Dhabi. And I remember asking someone at the Hub team, I was like, just to be clear, you guys know we're a travel startup, right? And the answer I got, which is an answer I love to repeat, is, well, yeah, but here we take 10, 20, 30-year views. We're not a short-term investor. And so the only question we have is whether travel is going to come back. And we have huge conviction around it. So there's no question in our mind. And so that's how we ended up.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that. Imagine being 2020, like peak of COVID, everything is shut down. Yeah. Airports are shut and someone's telling you, well, do you think travel is going to come back? Well, I don't know. What do you think? But that's good. I mean, we're going to dive into more of your story and the time there. But Hani, maybe with you as well, like turning an idea into reality, right? You're in this training and educational space where, okay, cool, come wear this VR machine and you get to do this training. At some point, you have to start saying, okay, this is actually a business, guys. There is something behind this. There's technology on it. So how did you go from having to sell that or essentially have that pivot and tell people this is actually the tech part of it?
Yeah.
How did you make it a business?
You know, for me, the story started when I was a kid. I've always had that passion for, art and technology, the intersection of the two. And I remember, like as a young kid, I was sketching and doodling, and then discovered computer graphics, and was like, wow, this is amazing. This is just a way to take it even further. And as I graduated from university, it's like, okay, well, how do I craft a career for myself that talks to the passion that I have? And gaming was the answer for me. So I worked in the gaming industry for about 15 years for companies like Ubisoft and Activision and Square Enix back in Vancouver, BC, and had the pleasure to work with some of the best talent in the industry. Learned so much from them. Now, fast forward, 15 years, moved to Abu Dhabi. I was looking for an opportunity to leverage that knowledge about the technology, but also the methodology of gaming to deliver immersive training. Okay. And the reality is, when we started analyzing the industry, when you're talking about vocational training, it's about a $900 billion industry by 2029. And if you look at the way that training has been delivered for decades, it hasn't really changed that much. It's in a classroom. And when you're talking about technical training, there's a disconnect between the theory and the practicality of learning on the job type training. And we saw an opportunity to play in that space. And although virtual reality was our beginning and we embraced that, and it was a big part of our business, as COVID hit us and we realized people were a bit nervous about putting a headset on their face when the pandemic was at its peak, that got us to thinking about two things. First of all, rather than forcing a technology on the market, let's try to understand the problem that we're trying to solve and work backwards towards what technology is relevant to that solution. And where we landed actually over the last year and a half is we found there's a big gap actually between physical training in a classroom, or even online training, which is a recording of that physical training delivered at scale, immersive simulations, whether it's VR or high-end flight simulators and what have you. And what that got us to think about is, for us to scale, we need to be on mobile devices, we need to be on desktop devices. So we expanded the offering to deliver that gamified training. And by gamified, we actually build that training like we build a game. So 80% of the team consists of developers that historically worked on games.
Yeah.
And if you think of the relevance of that, if you think about playing a game, first of all, the level of immersion is like nothing else. You learn how to solve puzzles. Mm-hmm. You remember names of characters and fictional environments. And if you tap into that and just inject excellent science and educational learning objectives underneath it, and you wrap a game around that, the result is very powerful.
Yeah, I love that, because both of you have built something from passion. Like, it's something that you've loved and you've been in and that you enjoy doing. So I think that makes a difference into going from an idea to a business, because I mean, it's very cliched, and I'm going to use the WeWork tagline, do what you love, and love what you do, and then you actually get something out of it.
I'm not sure that's particularly excellent advice. To do what you love, follow your passion. I think there's just two schools of
I agree, but I feel like it's a good anchor. Like, there are nights, and we're going to get into it. There are nights when you wake up and you're going to be like, why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. And if you don't love what you do, then you're not purpose driven, right? Mm-hmm. Like, then you're not a founder. Then you pick up a corporate job. I mean, you've been a gamer for a while. You can join a gaming studio. You can, join 2454. I don't know, and go into the gaming space. But this isn't an easy journey. I mean, But, my next question, at least I'm going into it, would be, I was going to ask, what's the brutal, honest truth? If you had to, say one thing to anyone before you started running this, so before you made it your business and you called it Dharma, before this became Mental VR, what is one honest truth you would tell someone? The honest truth about essentially running a startup.
I mean, the reality for me is that it's a lot harder than I thought it was. It's... There's nothing that could have prepared me to what was going to come next. And, fortunately, I had the passion for what I was doing, and that became more important than the sacrifices that I was making outside of my work. So the key thing is to make sure that you love what you do, because the chances are it's going to take a while. it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years to build a solid business. And the other thing is, you need to surround yourself with people that can support you, whether it's family, friends, spouse, whatever, because what you're doing is you're spending an insane amount of time, whether you're at the office or even back home, just thinking of almost nothing but that business.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that the people that are around you can understand that and support you while you're doing it. And you mentioned resilience. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, this is really what it takes, because the number of blows that I've received over the last years, I mean, honestly, if you don't have the strength to, every time you get punched, to get up and it's like, okay, well, what's left? How do I solve this? How do I focus on what can be done rather than, oh my God, this happened, now we're doomed, right? So really having a positive perspective, regardless of how hard it is or how challenging it is, always try to think of what can be done rather than, like grief over what happened to you, because there's a lot of bad things that will happen to you along the way.
I definitely that definitely resonates with me. I think feeling sorry for yourself is not an option at all. And it's like you chose this. There's no, it's hard. My life's so stressful, so complicated. There's no, in reality, sometimes it seems like the world depends on it, and ultimately the reality is that not a lot of people really care. There's like this quote of like, in my 20s I was obsessed with like what people thought about me. In my 40s I didn't care what people thought about me. In my 60s I realized that no one cared about me to begin with, or thought about me to begin with. And I think in many ways
it's a little sad, by the way.
I think it's not. I mean this in a macro way. Like we make such a big deal of what's my legacy and what's my. In reality, I think this is what I wanted to start with. You asked what I would tell myself when we started this like 6 years ago. I would tell myself that, do it for you. Don't do it for others, or for what others will think, or for your what you will mean to others, or do it for you. Understand what is it that you want from life, what is it that matters to you. And the other thing is that those things change, right? When we started the business, we didn't have kids. Now we're expecting our third kid. And so your risk profile changes, what matters in life changes, what you want to prioritize changes, and so I think all of maintaining that and maintaining kind of alignment with what it is that fundamentally aligns with the life you want to have and the life you want to build, and growing the business and continuing the commitment and the resilience to the business. I think that's where for me at least, that's where the tension point has been the hardest. A lot of my friends who've chosen the corporate route, since you mentioned the corporate route before, are breaking through now in their 30s, early 30s, mid 30s, and are breaking through into kind of bigger roles and kind of securing their path as much as you can, I guess. And we're here 4 years later, still taking shots on goal to try to find the product market fit. And I would say, the mental strain of that can be quite difficult. And so again, kind of to everyone watching, it's like, it's real. When people are like high risk, high reward, everyone just thinks about the reward part of that sentence. But the first part of that sentence is the high risk. And that risk and the consequences of that risk, because ultimately, again, I think we like to put so much value judgments on things. It's good, it's bad, it's right, it's wrong. Objectively speaking, high risk, high reward means high risk. And that high risk has real life consequences. And so I think just to know that, and to not kind of to not do it, or to do it afraid, or to just to know that and be like, you know what? I consider that everything in life is hard. It's hard to be super fit. It's hard to be overweight. It's hard to be rich. It's hard to be poor. Everything is hard. I'm going to choose my hard. I accept.
I like that.
I accept the consequences that come with it, or the downside that comes with it. And I think that's. Sorry, I don't know if that was a Debbie Downer answer. You asked for.
No, that went very deep. But I love that, and I love when founders talk about this. I think they don't realize that there are other founders in the exact same boat, right? Fundamentally, if you are not having millions in the bank because you've raised, I don't know, like you're Adam Newman and you've, pulling out $50 million investments wherever you go. If you're not, and you're an everyday founder, at least the ones I know in the space with us, they're all in this exact same journey of, I need to keep the lights on. I have staff to pay. I have a family. I have a business. I have investors to, like, you are balancing everything. So I just wanted to say that as you were talking about, do it for yourself, do it for the people in your lives. Because Hani said that too, surround yourself with good people. But anyway, my next question is, and I want to talk about this because it's something both of us, all three of us have talked about, is investors and fundraising, right? So
fun stuff.
Fun stuff. Yeah, the fun stuff.
Yeah. Whoever we didn't lose in the previous question, we're definitely losing now.
So there's this saying, it's like, any money is not good money. And when you're desperate, especially, you have to close your round and you're fundraising. So Hani, you and I have talked about this. We've had some insane stories, and I've heard you go through this where you're at a point where I need to take this money, and someone might actually come and say, fine, we're ready to invest into you. At what point do you say, actually, this is not something I don't want to take this? Or do you take the money? I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts, and I'm sure you both have stories around.
Are you talking about Hani today, or the Hani that was going to accept the money?
Let's talk about the Hani who was going to accept the money.
Yeah, I think back then, I was just thinking about the fact that we needed the funds. There's all of these plans that we wanted to develop the product further. My team is putting pressure about scaling up, getting more people to help, and all of that. And back then, I was zero focused on getting the money, right? And the Hani today, I would say, no, not at any cost, because the reality is, getting money from an investor, it's kind of like a marriage, if you will, right? Because it's a partnership, and it's I think the healthiest kind of relationship, especially between an investor and an entrepreneur, is the mutual trust, right? And it's really, in many ways, it's a symbiotic partnership, right? Where, as an entrepreneur, you're looking for strategic investment capital, right, to fuel your creativity and your innovation. And in return, as an entrepreneur, you have the responsibility of executing well and adding value to the company, and hence, benefiting the investor in a better valuation, and hopefully one day an exit. So for that to happen, you need to think of the personal relationship between you and the investor, and making sure that there is that alignment. The alignment on the vision is very important, and the long-term commitment, because it is a long-term journey. So rather than having tension early on when you're kind of like trying to find your path, towards the long-term goal, there are some investors that are not that patient, and the first innovation immediately has basically failure attached to it, right? You have to fail rapidly, right, to get eventually to the solution that you need to get. And it's not every investor that has that patience. So although money was good, and that was my focus back then, now it's really trying to understand the value that investor is going to add. And this is where I would advise anybody that's looking for money. It's not just the money, but also the value that investor can bring to your business.
But I'm curious because, again, being completely honest, open, as we were asked to do, mental VR, and especially the space that you're in and you're fundraising for, it's not a sexy space, because people are like, oh, I want like B2B, SaaS, let's do fintech, anything that can get us, high returns quickly. Yeah. And I can only imagine like this sell of like, okay, this is what we could do. It's great on like, oh, I'm going to get 5 projects for it, but it's not easy to get venture money into this. Yeah. So what are the sort of stories you've had to do of trying to explain to them, actually, this is...
I think we were in a very sexy business in terms of like having a product that can get people excited about it.
Yeah, because you get to wear something.
Exactly.
And
the problem back then, which we changed, and again, as an entrepreneur, you have to listen to investors, because every meeting that you have with a VC has value, and you need to reflect on the feedback that you're getting from, they're not going to invest because, and if you don't do anything about it, then you're going to, repeat the same thing and expect different results. So what we did over the years is we listened to all of that, and you're absolutely right with everything that you said. And for me, over the last couple of years, it was how do we move away from being a solutioning company that can create these amazing products that can benefit a single business to a company that can scale, that can create educational experiences offered to a larger market that is affordable. And that's what changed, to be honest, at Mental over the last couple of years. So VR is gone. We're Mental. We're basically transforming vocational training through the power of gaming. And we solved the problem of scalability in two ways. First of all, we are B2B. We have a SaaS business right now. We have a platform that is available online that you can access from the web and from your mobile phone. And the cost of a license is very affordable. As a matter of fact, it's lower than what they're paying for the traditional training centers. So the evolution came as a feedback from investors and from the market, where a lot of people liked what we're doing. They just couldn't afford to pay for it because you're expecting the customer to pay for it. And when we flipped things around and said, let's find an opportunity in the market that is in demand and start investing in these kind of courses and offer it to the market, and just basically as a SaaS model. And this is why our investors today, they like the story, they like the pivot in many ways. And there was a lot of learnings that we took from the previous version of Mental. We're still offering VR as a solution, but 90% of our business now is in non-VR type immersive products.
Great. So listen to your investors. And I think Sharaf as well, I remember there was a phase when you were fundraising, or you started, I think 2022, 2021? Several until you closed a big round. But do you know how I remember when Sharaf first came in as Dharma? He had a 6-person office, right? It's like they had money, it's ready, 6-person office, we can afford it. 3 months in,
facts,
comes up and he goes, yeah, I can't have the 6-person anymore. I just need a 2-desk. Okay, we're accommodating. We love our founders. No problem. Sharaf moves to another floor. Got 2 desks. 3 months later, Sharaf's like, hey, listen, money's good. Business is good. We need to go back up to, we need like a 8-person office. I'm like, okay, wow. Goes back up, 8-person office. 3 months later, it's like, Divya, I'm going to take a 2-person office. It's just going to be me and Nisma. Sharaf has been on every floor.
Every floor. I'm the tester. Every time they bring a new desk, I test it.
Every different type of office. And it was like the different cycles of his business we're doing well. Actually, let's cut down on money. Actually, we need more people. Oh, actually, we're going to... I'm sorry, I had to bring this, but great. Literally all 3 floors, different types of offices, and finally he settled on a beautiful 3-person office consistently.
Which I had my eye on since day one.
From day one,
we have the best view.
So that's how I always remember when you were fundraising, because I knew when money was...
They closed. They ran out.
We're about to close. We have to show the investors.
Okay, Sharaf is back in a 2-person office. He must be fundraising.
But tell me about that journey. Like, who did you have to say no to? Or actually, I'd love to know. It was a question I was going to ask Hani. But I'm going to ask you, like, how many people did you have to say, this is actually what we do, guys? This is what our business is?
What, you mean at the Hub or in general?
Just when you're talking to investors, like, I feel like people would idolize, like, oh, cool, a trip for influencers, cool. Like, do they actually, how easy was it to fundraise in the region?
Okay, so I'm going to break down the answer in 3 parts. One, regional investors. And I'd say
honest truth.
Regional investors and also regional bias. I'm going to take some responsibility in this answer as well.
Okay.
So I think it's so easy in the trend to just be like, oh, regional investors. So I'll talk about regional investors.
What's the trend?
Just to say, oh, the regional investors are not up to par. They're not like global investors.
Okay,
blah, blah.
Fair.
Like to bash regional investors, I think is kind of in vogue, and I don't agree.
Okay.
And so I'll speak to that, and then I'll speak to my desk changing, and the fundraising that kind of cycles that followed. So for regional investors, the first thing is our first institutional investor was Abdallah Yafi from BNY Venture Partners, BYVP, and I'll start with my personal bias because I was out in Marrakesh, COVID, company about to go bankrupt, trying to kind of rebound into a VC-backed startup. I had at the time been on probably 100 calls with VCs that I had exclusively looked for in Europe and the US, and through personal contacts in Morocco. And my first experiences with a couple local Moroccan, I'd say angel investors at that point, not VCs, was quite a negative experience. Not reflective of the wider ecosystem, but of the first two I had. And so in my mind, I had an immediate bias of like, okay, you know, regional investors is a no. I'm just going to look for European and American investors. They're the ones that are going to get it. And they're the ones that are in mature markets. And I had a call scheduled with Abdallah, and I almost didn't go to the call. I was locked down in my apartment in Marrakesh for no other reason than just to say, oh, you know what? I have another call with this tier 1 fund from the US later that day, so might as well focus on that one. This is surely not going to get me anywhere. And then Nisma was like, dude, take the call. And it was an introduction from one of my best friends, and so I took the call. And Abdallah and BYVP are the best thing that's ever happened to us. Like, I consider them a co-founder of the business. They have been exceptional from that first call up until today. He's basically a co-founder of the business. He's been there, and he's not just been there when things have been right. He's been there in the deepest of trenches. So I would say that's the first bias I'd like to confront, which is that there aren't world-class unicorn VCs in the region, because I can attest to and testify that actually I'm backed by one. The team at Shuruq is also exceptional. I worked with almost all the partners at Shuruq. They didn't know what to do with us, so they passed me on to each partner. So I worked with Mahmoud, and I worked with Shane, and I worked with Tamer, and now I'm working with Bilal, and I love all of them.
Yeah.
I made them all crazy, but I love all of them. And so, you know, I think that bias against the local investor, a lot of times that's an easy cop out, and a lot of times there needs to be some mirror holding when people bash regional funds. So I'll start with that. Now, on my desk changing, I think that, you know, and
that wasn't an attack.
No, I didn't take it as such, but I have to address it.
Okay, I have to address this. There are like 400 founders, right? Yeah. And over the years, there's like specific stories about each of them that will always link me to them. Like one of Hani's fundraising stories was when he actually had a term sheet signed. Yeah. And I remember seeing him on the 15th floor at the Burst, and he was like, yeah, it's gonna happen. It's done deal. And I saw him 2 days later, and Hani looked
eyes bloodshot, like, out like a ghost.
I actually remember this.
Yeah. And he was just like, no words were coming out of his mouth, because he was like, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and then it was darkness. A lie. So that's how I remember you as well, as the desk changing and your story. But anyway, I'm going to let you finish, and I want to hear Hani's horror story.
Yeah, no, look, we had a term sheet that was rescinded as well, and I think that was that probably set us back a year. But again, looking back on that, I probably think we were to blame on that. You know, so but for the desk, I think. Also for Hub71, you guys have been a startup and an early stage startup as well. And so I think the program coming in at the time was like a different program than and evolved over time. So I think, you know, today our team is fully remote other than me and Nisma. I would love for everyone to be here.
Yeah.
And I would love for every Dharma desk to be here at Hub71 and for my team to be here. But the reality of Abu Dhabi, and again, we can talk about it on this pod or not, but the reality is that it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's super expensive. I mean, we live in a city that is where most jobs are public jobs or oil and gas jobs or sovereign wealth fund or investment jobs. And so, and a lot of them subsidize schooling, housing, etc. To have a early stage startup ecosystem kind of exist within that.
Yeah.
It's complicated. Like it's just complicated to make the math other than for executive teams or founders. And so I think for me, the reflection of that up and down was also, okay, let's build it out here, no remote. And then, you know, also Dharma as a travel company made sense to be kind of spread out. But I think, you know, that along with the ups and downs of raising and the P&L and financial realities was just meant that we've been around
That's a
been
good
around
thing.
the hub.
Yeah, but I'll actually challenge you to what you said, which goes back to my issue with funding, and I'm going to let you answer. One of my questions was, Abu Dhabi is an expensive city, and there's no denying it, especially the people that do come here and get the opportunities. But you in government jobs and the sovereign wealth funds, but you look at your top 5 tech ecosystems, and it's in the most expensive cities. You've got San Francisco, got New York, Boston, London, Shanghai. These are extremely expensive cities. But they also have a full circle economy in the sense of, well, in San Francisco, number one, yes, very expensive. Like as a team, we've been traveling there for different conferences, and sometimes we're like $200 like 3 people over pizza and like maybe juices. And like that, who is paying that kind of money? It's extremely expensive to live and to try to survive there, but it's the biggest startup ecosystem. But there's sort of this nice balance of easy to raise in money. There are VCs all around. The sort of approach on fundraising and investments is a lot more day to day. It happens over, drinks at happy hour at some investor lounge, or it happens over, a conference. It's more easier access to money, where Abu Dhabi is still a young economy that's coming there. And I think we'll get there probably in the next 5 to 10 years.
And if I can add to that as well, there are programs that Mental was able to take advantage of above and beyond the benefits that we got from Hub71 and throughout our journey the first 2 years. We actually were able to benefit from ADIO and from as a gaming company from Abu Dhabi Gaming, and now from the Misa and M39 ecosystem. So there are ways to kind of like subsidize the initial cost that you have as a founder in Abu Dhabi that I think is very unique, and I think it's a growing ecosystem. I think it'll get better with time.
I don't disagree, and obviously we graduated from the program like 2.5 years ago, and we're still here. So I would say exactly. I'm here. I'm gonna ride this wave to the end, but the I don't disagree, and after our last round, we raised about $5 million, and actually one of our investors was very clear that they wanted us to move closer to our markets, to the US and to Europe. So Nisa and I pulled up an Excel and we listed all, Miami, not California because it's too far, but Miami, New York, Barcelona, Madrid, Lisbon, et cetera, and then listed Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and basically ranked based on what we thought personally and professionally was the best choice. And we ended up, for Nisma and I, staying here, and it's a 15-minute drive between school, house, and work. All 3 of those are world-class. I mean, Saidiyat Island is probably the most, and I hope it will remain undiscovered, but the most, the highest quality of life in the world for a young family today. So, I don't need to be convinced about Abu Dhabi. I think, we're here. I guess as we scale the business, the question is really, can you scale a company here in a way that makes the P&L make sense for an early stage startup? I think that's and of course I hear you on the comparison to bigger cost centers and cost of living in like San Francisco, but I think the capital pool, as you said, and the talent pool is just uncomparable. 100%. And also, people who decide to come here, they'll like want double the salary that they're getting there just because, like that. Because as if it's a favor to come here, and actually it's the opposite. The only reason I said that is because I actually feel like a lot of people talk about this. Abu Dhabi is expensive. I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right, and so are all these big tech ecosystems. And I guess it's something we always laugh about internally. We're like, where is the money? Like it has to but I believe we are getting there as the economy, like we're growing towards it. Like even when we started Hub71, I mean, we went from like 25 startups to 75 to 100, and we celebrated the big 100. I remember we're at over 270 today. So it took time though. In 5 years, like
we had to find our own product market fit. Like, what are we actually good at? So all in good time. But anyway, Hani, I want to hear this story.
Yes. Oh, the story about the investor.
Sheet.
Okay. Yeah. So it actually took more than 2 days. As a matter of fact, it took about 2-3 months. And we got the term sheet, and, the guys just, they asked me to restructure the company. We did the full restructuring. I got a very expensive lawyer to handle this whole thing. I flew to Montreal. We had an operation there. We started interviewing people to hire, because it was an investment, and there was a big contract that was attached to the investment. And then I remember we actually had a meeting with an investor in New York as well that was interested in joining the round for as long as that investor would lead. Flew back. Long story short, I found out that they're going to retract the term sheet. And it was devastating. Like, that was probably one of the toughest moments throughout my journey. And it's really disappointing, because you build all of these plans, and all of a sudden, you realize that there's nothing you can do about it. But, in hindsight, I think it's probably it was the best outcome for us, because the result of that was one of the following investors decided to lead the round. And we love working with, Tikar Ventures. They led our round. Yeah. They've been very supportive throughout. They invested twice so far in Mental. And I feel like, that particular investment would have pigeonholed Mental in one particular industry. And I think now we have the freedom to really take advantage of the whole opportunity. So as tough as it was, and I think this goes back to trying to find that silver lining. Yeah. I think that's the part where it took me a while to find that silver lining. And we're in a much better place as a result of that.
Yeah, part of the journey.
Yeah.
Speaking about, I guess for both of you, it's a very creative space. What Dharma is doing, what Mental is doing. One of the questions we were looking at was and I was like, is this actually relevant? I thought this is a good one. It's competition and collaboration, right? Mm. With you, with Dharma, I was thinking, how is it if someone else would just say, actually, we can just do this in-house? Like, you go to the Emily in Paris's or the Snoop Dogg's or the big influencers who say, yeah, I want to create this. At what point does competition or collaboration, and I guess with Mental as well, right?
Yeah.
Where do you have to draw the line, or where, have you had an incidence where you've had to say, actually, this is a decision I don't want to take, or I don't want to collaborate with them? So what's the thin line between competition and collaboration, I guess?
I think for Mental, there's always an opportunity to find partnerships, especially in the early days, because what we're trying to do is so large that there's absolutely no way that we can do it all. So trying to find partners that can complement your offering or extend your ability to deliver faster is very important for us. And I've actually learned this lesson from back in the day, even working for studios like Ubisoft. Although there was a relatively large core team, we were doing co-development with some specialized studios that were doing things like, facial mocap and what have you, doing things that they're really, really good at, and we didn't really have to hire the resources to do it. So we're doing a lot of that. So we're finding partners that are capable, that can augment our staff. We see an opportunity as well for us to share the technology that we've developed over the years that's allowing us to build immersive content faster, to really populate the platform faster, where we can invite third-party content creators to leverage the technology that we build content that's relevant to what they're doing. And it's a win-win situation where they can have access to this technology, and we can have more content on our platform. And the list goes on. I think, in this day and age, even if you look at companies like Apple, the amount of partnerships and acquisitions that they've done after successful partnerships is infinite. And I think that's the best way to grow efficiently.
Okay. Yeah. What about you?
I think that, in some cases, our value proposition is not for everyone. So if you are a yoga teacher with a lot of time on your hands, where you actually can do all the logistics and operations, or if you actually like to do it, or if you're someone who, we've worked with some, for example, creators who absolutely need to be the ones communicating with the guests or managing. And so there's some cases where the fit is not perfect. And from past experience, when the fit is not perfect and you still go ahead, down the line, you pay for it. It's like, it's painful. Yeah. It's painful when the value proposition is diluted. It's painful to move forward with the deal. So, you know, we've become much more clear and also much more confident in okay, hey, actually we've done some of this before and it doesn't work. So, you know, we don't do the deals. And then in other times, it's also, I think, it's good to ask the partner, hey, this is what we offer. There is a world where, you know, this is something you could do. What is it that you guys are aligned on in terms of what your value proposition is? And I'm going to give a concrete example. On March 17th, I don't know when this episode is going to air, but on March 17th, we're launching a very cool partnership with Get Your Guide. They're SoftBank-backed OTA, online travel agency. They sell experiences. They're based out of Berlin. And they are exclusively going to distribute our Emily in Paris experiences. So we developed like 8 official Emily in Paris experiences, like the walking tour, macaroon making, et cetera, et cetera. We developed
macaroon making.
It's going to be cool. It's like all branded, and the macaroons are branded anyway.
You're making me hungry now.
and croissant, there's also croissant, obviously. But essentially, we spent quite a lot of time going through the data and building, you know, creating these experiences. And then we're like, you know, our core competence is not distribution. So we approached the biggest OTAs. We approached, you know, Viator and Get Your Guide and Airbnb, et cetera. And we're like, hey guys, our core competence is not distribution at scale. We design and deliver experiences. So in the conversations we had with OTAs, we're like, look, clearly there's a world where you guys license the IPs and run them, but ultimately, fundamentally, an OTA is a marketing and distribution platform for experiences. So if this is a fit, then we'd love to take this to market. And if you guys are thinking of operating yourself, et cetera, then maybe it's not the best fit. And in Get Your Guide's case, and actually in all the cases that we talked to, they're like, you know what, this is a perfect fit for us. And in that case, partnership is a perfect fit. And I guess the best parallel to this is, you know, Booking.com has hotels. The question, the equivalency would be if Booking.com opened hotels that they then distributed, right? They don't. They work with the Marriotts and Hyatts of this world, and they distribute their inventory. So in our case, that's a perfect partnership. Of course, there's tension because there's, you know, margin tension of, okay, well, how much margin do we take per sales, et cetera, et cetera. So there's tension in that relationship, but the partnership is there.
Yeah.
Even if technically Booking.com, with the data they have, could open hotels and know exactly where it sells, what price to sell it, what guests are looking for, but they don't because it's not their core competence. So I think those are the two lines, is really just understanding what your value proposition is and understanding what your partner's value proposition is and what they want to do and where they see themselves go. And
being able to qualify the value of that partnership very quickly, because conceptually it might sound like a great idea.
Correct.
But spending and wasting time trying to make it work the way that you thought it would work and not realizing that it's just not working, like being able to nip it in the bud, that's not working, let's move on.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing.
That's true. Corporate partnerships can be the hill you die on as an early stage startup. We spent like 2 years going live with these themed experiences with this global corporate.
Yeah.
And then it was a dud, and it almost sunk us.
The time that it takes as well, like they're
crazy.
at a completely different time scale than us, right?
And you're excited because you're like, oh my God, this giant wants to work with me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And this is gonna be my takeoff. Yeah. And then you put everything into it, and then you realize, well, you know, who's distributing or who's making the sales, and it's like, okay. Anyway.
So I guess that'll lead me to ask, like, both of you, what keeps you sane? What keeps you balanced, right? Like with you, kids, co-founder, wife as well. So
what keeps Nisma sane is the right question.
Maybe I should ask the wife that. It's true.
Correct.
But like going through all of it, what keeps you sane? Both of you. Like it's not easy. We keep saying like resilience, the founder journey, but clearly the two of you are happy, healthy, and are thriving. Looking at the two of you. So what's keeping you sane? How do you find the balance?
So I'm in a different position here because I'm a single founder, and I'm happily married, and we have a little puppy, so no kids. So that by itself really keeps me sane. But also what I discovered very quickly is that you need to have a hobby that is not your work. And for me, music and art is where I keep my sanity. So a combination of, I'm a terrible guitar player, but I play it nonetheless. Okay. And it's a form of meditation for me, playing music, bit of mixing, doodling, doing some art, anything to, just disconnect from everything that's happening for 90% of the day. When I get a chance, just traveling, just, like nurturing the good friendships that you have, etc., and just allowing yourself to be happy, right? Because it's like not even running a marathon, it's like an ultra marathon, right? Like, and if you don't really, first of all, train yourself for that, and if you don't take breaks, you're going to burn out very quickly. Like sometimes I know when I'm about to burn out, and I think that's when I like, you know what, I'm going to stop, because the consequences of me continuing, at that pace is way worse than me taking that time off.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's such a deep breath. Breathe.
It's an interesting question. At this time, we went through I'll link it back to the passion question we started with, but we went through quite a difficult restructuring of the business 3 months ago. And what kept me going, I'd say almost until then, had been kind of the passion of the business and the purpose behind it. And I think in many ways that was ill-advised, because for many decisions we would paper over them to say, okay, well, we believe in the mission and the purpose, so we'll just keep going, and we know we have conviction that there'll be a way out. Yeah. And I think on the other end of that restructuring, just my approach has changed, where it's like, I think this is also kind of a big thing, where it's just passion doesn't pay the bills, and passion won't keep your team's jobs. It was difficult to let go of a lot of people, that some of them have been with us since the beginning, and who were there because they were purpose driven, and because they had, they believed in the mission. And so of course I took it as a personal failure, and for me the learning from that is just that ultimately the P&L must make sense, and ultimately the numbers must make sense, and the sales must make sense, because otherwise you're helping nobody, as mission driven as you are. And so, to come back to your sanity question, I think for me, with regards to the business, it's been okay, what do we want to make of this, and what's the end game, and ultimately for me the end game, just like for my investors and for the team, is the financial possibility and opportunity to really make outsized generational wealth on the other side of this. And I think coming at it with that and saying, okay, well, what it will take to get there. And of course, there's a strong mission to the business. And the reason why we think there's a general wealth opportunity on the other side is because we're really tapping into an opportunity and a problem that we're passionate about. But that's driven by, and that for me has become driven by, okay, let's make the math, let's make the numbers work. Let's do what we have to do to make this a real business, as opposed to a passion project. Because if it's a passion project, then you should be nowhere near VCs and nowhere near this game, because you will get into a washing machine that will grind the life out of you. And so I think that's one part. And then the other part is also just, I realized that I couldn't do everything. And, it hurt me before to not be close to my closest friends as I was before. But I realized, okay, I'm in the stage of life where I want to focus on work, and I want to focus on my kids and family, seeing my parents as much as I can, spending as much time with my kids as I can, and trying to stay fit. Okay. Clearly, Divya, you've been leaving all of us in the dust when it comes to staying fit, but I'm trying 3 times a week. I'm like, okay, and it makes me feel good. So
I told you I'll take you to Barry's. Yeah. It's right here.
There was also
Barry's is the violence that I can't take.
I'll take
it's more violent than startup life.
There's the group meditation that Mindtails was doing. That was
I love Mindtails, but I don't know about meditation.
It worked for me. Really? Like the 15 minutes worked really well. But like just to add to what you just said there, also like focusing on the end goal. I mean, knowing that where you want to go is great, but breaking it down into milestones, I think can help, to focus on getting the first 100 customers, and then, okay, how do you get to 100, from 100 to 1,000, rather than saying I'm going to be like a $200 million business, like break it down into, like chewable milestones, right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really looking for a simple answer. Like the puppy and the guitar helps me.
Sorry, I'm clearly in an introspective mood today.
Did I say it's a dancing puppy? No, I'm just kidding.
And a dancing puppy. Anything. I was looking for your anchor, your balance, but I'll take your answer.
Thank you. Thanks for accepting it.
Definitely deep.
Thanks.
But we're gonna wrap up, and I wanted to ask, I guess, closing questions was, let's take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, right? 2 steps forward. So where do you both see Dharma and Mental in 5 years? Give me a 1 sentence. Where's Dharma 5 years from now? Where's Mental 5 years from now?
So Mental, we wanna basically be one of the leading vocational training platforms globally. We have this big ambition that we're launching here in the UAE and expanding to the GCC. But our ambition is to be available in, many markets across several geographies. And we want to be acknowledged and recognized as one of the pioneers of delivering immersive training using the power of gaming.
Power of gaming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dharma will try to be
will be.
Oh, this is like the manifestation.
Yes.
The manifestation vibes. Okay. I'm working on a vision board, so maybe I'll.
I would like to see that vision. I want to fact check.
Are you sure? Be careful what you wish for.
5 years.
The first global experiences and activities brand in the world.
Okay.
So you know how today you have global hotel brands,
Yeah.
Four Seasons, Marriott. You have global airlines, Emirates, Etihad. Well, you actually don't have global experience and activity brands, and it's the 3rd largest segment after those first 2 in travel. So we want to build the first one.
I love that. Okay, let's take 2 steps back. So what would you tell younger Hani 5 years ago to where you are today and where you want to be? What's one advice you tell yourself?
Are you sure you want to do this? No. That's
one
probably
advice.
not one. I would say just, hang tight. It's gonna be a long ride. Take breaks. Don't kill yourself while you're doing it, and enjoy it. Enjoy the good and the bad, because even when you think you hit rock bottom, there's always light. There's always a way to. So just hang tight, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
My 5 year.
5 years ago, think about where you were. COVID, things are like shutting down, and you want to think about your 5-year vision. So you did the 2 steps forward. Now go back.
I would tell myself that I back myself, and I would tell myself to enjoy the ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Hani, you can ask him a question. I mean, anything that you want to ask him.
Well, when it's, I guess the one thing that comes to mind when it's dark and bleak, and you're facing like the worst possible day of your life. Like, how do you handle those emotions? What keeps you going?
Truthfully, truthfully, Nisma and I, we always say that we're, alhamdulillah. I think alhamdulillah is a great expression in Arabic. It's an expression of gratitude.
Yeah.
And, we really, truly believe that we have it all. We have stable, happy family. We are working hard. We are controlling what we can control. And so I think we come back to that base feeling of gratitude, and we have it all already. I mean, all of this is bonus. This is extra. And we build that $1 billion company. Great. That's extra. And we're gonna, we're hungry for it, and we're gonna go for it. But we already have it all. So I think that's the base we come back to always.
Good answer.
Very good answer.
Thank you very much. Did it reach your expectations?
It did. I was expecting like cry in the bathroom, like stall number 3.
I'm sure there's a bit of that.
Hide behind this veil.
Yeah.
Because I actually feel like I've had a breakdown and I've cried with you in one of the meeting rooms. So.
Oh yeah, I think several times actually. Yeah, and vice versa. Yeah.
So crying has definitely happened, but okay, you get to ask your question to Hani.
Not the same question.
But Hani, the question is for you. And I guess most of our friends in our social circle and our professional circle are people from the Arab world or originally from the Arab world who have come here to Abu Dhabi or Dubai. Abu Dhabi clearly for the people who are in the know.
Yeah.
And Dubai people following the trend, you know.
Yeah.
But I guess my question to you is, you know, what is it that, why do you think that mental can be success out of here and not somewhere else?
So, you know, for me, I've thought about that, especially moving from Vancouver. I think there's a very unique opportunity for mental to set up here. Is first of all, Abu Dhabi is a great market to launch the kind of product that we have. There are businesses in the energy sector, national security, and other verticals that can benefit from our solution, and we can prove our success in a market like this. But also, if you think of the direction that the leadership has chosen for Abu Dhabi and the UAE in general, just forward thinking, looking for being a leader in many verticals, including technology, and the backing that you get through initiatives like Hub71 and others, I think can really help fuel that early success. So we're looking for that early success, and I really believe that Abu Dhabi is a great place to do that. And on a personal level, I completely agree with you in terms of the quality of living. Abu Dhabi is not instantly a place you fall in love with, but with time, there's a lot of hidden gems that it grows on you. And for me, after 10 years now, it feels like home. And you need to be in a place where you're comfortable with to be able to do something like this. So it just gives you that nice balance to be able to enjoy your personal life, but also work hard.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I get that. And I think at least in our lifetime, there was never a cosmopolitan Arab culture city.
Yeah, you're right.
Or cities that, competed with the New Yorks and Hong Kongs and Londons. And I think, especially post-COVID, Dubai and Abu Dhabi are that. And I think even when it comes to raising a child in a culture that is your root culture, I think for me who is kind of secular, but still it's important and I value that. So yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
It's been such an experience, I guess, even for me to know both of you over 5 years, and the builders, the dreamers, being the founders. I love doing the session. I love that there's an honest truth about it's not just a title like founder, entrepreneur, CEO of the company. It comes with its own hardships and joys and pains and the cycle. So I guess final words is anything you want to tell the audience or anything you want to leave them with. It could be word of advice, word of caution, or I don't know, you can tell them a fun fact about yourself. Anything you want to leave them with.
For people that are thinking about starting a journey, I know we probably said things that can potentially scare you about starting it, but honestly, with all the pains that I've gone through, that I'm still going through, there's absolutely no other way that I would actually have seen my life going. Like it's hard. It's just but it's a beautiful type of hard when you feel like you're chipping away and you feel like you're doing something that is meaningful. So, the word of advice is that if you have a great idea and you have people that can help you execute on that idea, don't wait. Just go ahead and try it, because what's the worst thing that could happen? If it fails, you can always go back to your job. But it's totally worth it.
Love that.
Yeah.
How do you go after that?
I know. That was, both of you have such an emotional side to you.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm a bit of a softie.
We're suckers.
I love it. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Just advice or anything.
I think coming back to or defining what's core to you, what matters to you, what defines you, and kind of moving from your core will keep you grounded in the highs and in the lows. And I think at least for me that has helped me. So I have these 2 paragraphs that I repeat every morning.
Really?
Yeah, I'm definitely not reading them. Don't even go there.
It's like the new trend. It's like manifest, wake up in the morning, manifest what you want. So you read your paragraphs.
I manifest.
That's good.
I do.
Okay.
And I think it's less about manifesting a future and more about just kind of regrounding myself into what matters and what doesn't. It's easier to define yourself by what doesn't matter to you than what matters to you almost. And I think doing that is super helpful. Yeah. I
love that. Well, thank you both. Sharaf, Hani, thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this episode with us. And if anyone in the audience wants to know more about Mental or Dharma, social media accounts,
or Divya,
find me at Hub71. Been here for 5 years now.
We're as old as the furniture here now.
We really are. But it's been great having you guys. So thank you so much.
You.
Thank you for keeping it real.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Div.
All right.
Thank you.